Lori Pendleton has a knife up her vagina. No. She's returned to a life of writing and performing after spending the last 5 years doing jobs for former Vice President Cheney in Iran, Cuba, North Korea, and Pakistan. Yeah. She's working feverishly on a number of projects, including a laser light show for the Pussycat Dolls, which it turns out is the only way to listen to their music without flailing one's head against a cement surface. However, Lori still finds time for her new pet cause. You are just constantly giving of yourself.
I'm a very generous person.
Very generous. Her new pet cause, opposite marriage, where the groom walks backwards down the aisle and exchanges don't-yous with the bride. Please welcome somebody, you never know what you're going to get from her. She's one of our favorites. The losers who left, they don't know what they're missing. Lori Pendleton.
Lori!
Thank you. That's okay. I'll get them. I have pictures of them, so. But I want to thank you all for coming. I know it's been a very difficult year for everybody. I think we all know why. What with the economic meltdown and whatnot. A lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of people have lost their homes, a lot of people have watched their hopes and dreams die. Luckily, I'm not one of them. As a matter of fact, I'm on a pretty good streak of luck lately. I had some amazing luck. Now, granted, I did almost have to leave my program because obviously my day job is drying up. Luckily, Phil was able to pull a couple of strings and I was able to stay for both the remainder of this year and next year. I think it was his way of, making it up to me. We haven't spent a lot of time together lately because, sadly, Lorraine survived the fall and she can no longer feed herself. Anyway, when it looked like I wasn't going to be able to return to school, I decided now was the time to pursue a career in acting. So I got some headshots, I got an agent, and I actually got a fantastic audition. I don't know if any of you are aware of it, but they are making a musical. It's going to be on Broadway. It's a musical based on The Silence of the Lambs. Now, I was auditioning for the role of Clarice, and she has one of her signature numbers. It goes something like, murdering and eating people is a sin, Dr. Lecter, Dr. Lecter. So I was working on that. They had already cast the part of Clarice, so they had me audition instead for the girl in the pit. So if I get it, I'm going to have to, put on some kind of suit. So I had only, an hour or so to work on that song. Luckily, it's a duet. So I was working on my role, please don't make a suit out of my skin. Well, the scene partner I had is amazing. Like, he has this rich, deep baritone voice. And when he sang his part, he sang, "It puts the lotion in the basket." I really thought I was sitting next to a homicidal transvestite. Turns out I was half right. His name is Mariska, and he works weekends at Lucky Chang. So, anyway, here's what's great about it. Here's what's good about it. I got a call back. I never get a call back, and I got a call back on one of my very first auditions, and I thought that was the best part of the news. It gets even better. There's this girl, Noelle, who's kind of an arch enemy of mine, and she's always the one who gets the lead in the play, and she always gets this and that. Well, it turned out that she was auditioning for the musical also. She didn't get a call back. I did. She's usually the one gloating, "Oh, I might get something," and now I get to gloat to her. So, Noelle, miss all that. Who gets to sleep with the director now? So anyway, I thought that I just wanted to share that with you because, I know it's a little schadenfreude on my part, but, I think I will be a great girl in a pit, and this time I won't be passed out, so it should be really exciting if I get it, so wish me luck. With that out of the way, I have a couple of pieces that I want to read to you. Now, the first one is about something I think we all have to wrestle with, trust. Now, I consider myself a very trusting person. A couple of years ago, though, I was in a situation where my trust was kind of betrayed. I trusted the wrong people. Luckily, I didn't lose my ability to trust, and when the right people came along, I was able to trust them. So I wanted to write about it. I wasn't completely at ease until you loosened the rope around my wrist. Just enough to keep my veins from popping out of my hands. And I have to admit, not many people would be so kind as to use the blindfold that magicians use to guess which card someone has picked. But while I waited for you, hands tied over my head on a makeshift bedpost, one thought raced through my mind. I should write a poem about this. I continued to play along while you pretended to get dressed and leave the room with my wallet and my cell phone and my keys, and had the old man in the front desk call the police, who snapped the photos that would eventually end up on hotcrimescenes.com, adding to my legions of fans and stalkers. But while that appearance did not exactly make me a household name, my fame is secure at the Radisson Inn in Penns Grove, New Jersey. Thank you. Okay, now this is actually not a poem that I'm working on. This is prose. It's an excerpt. I too am working on a book. It's basically a book about, they're my insights about what it means to be a writer and how I want to define being a writer. I'm not quite sure I have the definition down. I'm not really sure you can condense it into just one sentence about what it means to be a writer. However, in studying other writers and in thinking about my own life and the life of all the people that I work with and that I study with, I think I have some pretty good anecdotal evidence, and so I put them in this little excerpt that I'd like to read to you. It's still a work in progress. By no means is it complete, but I think I have the tone and the sentiment down. If you've ever considered buying a timeshare at Bennington, you might be a writer. If you have sycophantic friends who laugh at quips like, "I never have my bookmark in the right place," you might be a writer. If you've ever attempted suicide and called it part of the process, you might be a writer. If someone tells you your book is perfect, but they can never publish it, you might be a writer. If you drink and listen to NPR while your lover works to pay the rent, you might be a writer. If you keep a journal for story ideas, but every other sentence you write in it is about how strange it is that Andrew says he cares about you, but is afraid to become serious because he doesn't want to become half a person, you might be a writer. If you think Gotham Writers Workshop is a good investment, you might be a writer. If you find romances about troglodytic warthogs and milkmaids with testicles on their faces to be heartwarming treatises on contemporary love, you might be a writer. If you've ever said, "These stories just pour out of me like some cold, salty river," in an effort to get someone into bed, you might be a writer. If you ever had sex with a person who said that, you might be a writer. If you start reading your best friend's journal, obsess over it, and end up stealing it, then you change a few of the names and pronouns, then send it to an agent who sells it for a tidy sum, and it gets published and it goes on to sell 4 million copies, you might be a writer. If you wear tan corduroy blazers with plaid shirts, blue ties, jeans, and Doc Martens, you might be a writer. If you're a man who wears the same thing, you might be a writing teacher. If you've moved to Williamsburg because you wanted to escape the shackles of conformity, you're actually an artist, but at one time you thought you might want to be a writer. And finally, if you talk like this, slow, methodical, unfettered by emotion or spirit, exhaling deeply, pausing frequently, enunciating every word, even the determiners and conjunctions, for effect and maybe to move your audience to think deep thoughts, you might be a writer. Thank you.